Welcome back. Today is day 18, Saturday, the second week of Lent. Today we're going to talk about discipline versus discipleship. And to the early members of Christianity, if you knew the way, and they're talking about the way of Christ, then there was no difference between the two. Following the way meant that you followed the rule of Christ automatically. And following that rule of Christ allowed you to become a disciple of Christ. We make a big distinction today because in the history of Christianity, we think of discipleship and most of us think of the 12 apostles. And we don't really think about we can be disciples. And we forget that in the early church, there weren't large monasteries, there weren't huge cathedrals, which are absolutely beautiful, and I'd love to go to them and have service there. But originally, it was small groups of people in individual houses, praying together, coming together, and learning the stories of Christ. So when you were baptized into the Christian church, and you followed the way of Christ, then you were a disciple. You automatically practiced the discipline of being a disciple. And today I'd like to read a little bit from the Didache. And for those of you that aren't aware of it, prior to the formalization of the canon of the Bible in AD 692, what came together was a book called the Didache Teachings of the 12 Apostles of the Nations. And it was a small booklet that was given out to new students to learn about the ways that you were to behave as a Christian, to be in good standing with your fellow brothers and sisters. And these are excerpts from parts 1, 3, and 6. The way of life. There are two ways, a way of life and a way of death. And the difference between these two ways is great. The way of life is this: thou shalt love first the Lord thy Creator, and second thy neighbor as thyself. And thou shalt do nothing as any man that thou wouldst not wish to be done to thyself. Never give way to anger, for anger leads to murder. Likewise, refrain from fanaticism, quarreling, and hot-temperedness, for these two can breed murder. Take care that nobody tempts you away from the path of this way, for such a man's tuitions can have nothing to do with God. If you can shoulder the Lord's yoke in its entirety, then you will be perfect. But if that is too much for you, do as much as you can. Our prayer for today: loving God, you have always known that giving us guidelines is the best way for us to get the most out of our relationship with you. May I know the benefit of a disciplined way of life and be committed to putting this into place for you. Amen. Thank you again for being with me today. May the peace of the God of joy be with you. May the peace of the love of Christ be with you. And may the grace of the Spirit be with you. Amen. Sophia Angela.